Welcome to the Tuning In podcast, where we talk alignment, intuition, and our internal guidance system. We cover woo-woo topics in an approachable and practical way. I'm your host, Dana Evans of Alignful.com. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Tuning In podcast. We are the Sloth Experiment Week 2 recap. And man, every week has been super interesting. As you know, I've been up to this longer than just me sharing with you about it, which was 2 episodes ago. But man, this week has been interesting. What I realized, and this was when I woke up this morning, I am officially taking this week of Thanksgiving here in the US. I'm taking this week fully off. And I woke up this morning with all of the stress. You need to be doing this. You should do this. You're not doing your rest right. You need to read the important books, not the fun books. What are you doing? Is this even working? What do you think is going to happen? Are you just choosing to be lazy because that's all you've ever wanted to be and you're never going to amount to nothing or anything anyway? Ouch. That is what I woke up to. Yesterday on Sunday, I was feeling extremely anxious and I was talking to my husband. I said, man, why am I anxious? I have the whole week off. He said, that's why you're anxious. We are so conditioned to do to earn our worthiness and to prove our worthiness. And this is what this sloth experiment is all about. I am trying to decondition and retrain myself away from this indoctrination of how I'm supposed to be as a human, how I'm supposed to live in this world. And that is exactly why I'm doing it, because I don't want to operate on that default setting anymore. I know that there is a better, more aligned way, and I'm choosing to update my operating system. But that is not necessarily easy, and it is taking some time because we are so conditioned, and my mind is fighting so hard to hold on to what it knows. Even though what it knows wasn't truly getting me the results that I want, it still feels more comfortable than the unknown. And this is something we talked about last week, episode 61 of the podcast. We talked about getting comfortable in the discomfort. And this is me getting comfortable in the unknown, doing what I've always felt called to do, but actually allowing myself to do that. And what I mean is giving myself more space to receive, allowing for more rest in my days, and just taking that heavy burden of always needing to do and prove off of my shoulders. So after I woke up this morning with that real intense energy, I was like, okay, maybe I should just work this week and forget that I said I would take the week off. But that didn't feel good either, right? So I'm in that weird place where the old way doesn't feel good, even though my mind is still fighting to keep it. But also the new way doesn't feel good. So I'm in that really uncomfortable in-between space of I don't fully trust the new way, and I also don't want to go back to the old way. In fact, I was journaling the other day, and it was so interesting what came through in the journal activity. I was just writing about this experiment, right, as I am going through it. And I was wondering, what is going on? What am I doing? Is this just an experiment or is there something else? And I just wasn't sure. And so I started writing about it. And what I realized is I said, maybe this is part of the experiment. Maybe it's not about testing a new way of living as much as it is about breaking the mind and challenging everything it thinks it is true. Maybe it's all okay. Maybe I don't need to try to experiment, try to rest, try to transform. Maybe I just ride the wave, check in, and allow myself to have some fun, to enjoy the process, the ups and the downs. Feeling down is part of it. I know this to be true, and it is all okay. Maybe the experiment is really about shifting my entire mindset, which it is. And maybe this isn't an experiment. I'm doing it as an experiment, but as I'm going through that, what I'm realizing to be very true for me is that I can't go back. I can't go back to the old way. I don't want to. I want to have this amount of space in my life. I want to attract clients instead of going and finding and getting them. I want my energy and alignment to be my very first priority and everything else to come after that. I want life to be easy. There, I said it out loud. I want life to be easy. Wow. I had a massive breakdown on a coaching session with my coach, Lauren, many weeks ago now. And I was crying and saying, but is it allowed to be this easy? Is it allowed to be this easy? And my inner voice was saying, let it be easy, let it be easy, let it be easy. And I was breaking myself. Like I was hysterically crying because that is how deep this conditioning goes. Relaxing is a reward, not a baseline. We work so that we can relax. I am trying to shift things so that I relax so I feel inspired to work. A subtle shift in the way I say it, but a massive shift in the way I'm living and being in my life. And my hope is that this all pans out, especially with this unwillingness to go back to the old way. I really am starting to trust and believe that there's something else out there and that it's possible for me to tap into it. So moving on through my day, after I had that challenging morning, I was like, well, wait a second. I don't have anything on my list this week. Like, I don't have anything lingering, just this podcast, which I woke up knowing what I wanted to talk about. I don't even have a to-do list. Can you believe that? Like, I don't have a list of things that need to get done. This is unbelievable for me. And so I was sitting there, I was like drinking my matcha, and I'm like, oh my God, I can do or not do anything today. And I kind of freaked out. I was like, wait a second. Because often I do whatever I want during the day, but there's always many, many looming things. But today there's nothing. And so I was reading and that felt nice. I did some of my morning routine and that felt nice. And then I felt the nudge to go start cleaning out the garage. We got this treadmill a few weeks ago and it came on a massive pallet with the biggest box we've ever seen. But we got all excited. We unboxed it. We put it together. And then we left the entire mess in the garage. And so I went down there and started with a box cutter, cutting that giant box into little squares so they can fit in our recycling bin. And it felt fun. And I was voice memoing friends and coaches and clients and just like in my zone. And it felt so good. And then my dad was like, hey, you want to go get coffee? I have something to give you. And I was like, okay. So we decided on a time to meet. And so then I was like, well, first I want to record my podcast. And so it's been so fun to go through the day so far as like my inner voice always says, what's the next most fun thing for us to do? And that's how I've been operating today. And one thing though that I'm realizing is part of this experiment and part of this week in particular where I have nothing is that I'm relearning how to relax. I am relearning how to unwind because I pretty much have like two modes. I'm working, I'm thinking about working, or I'm thinking about not working. Or I'm reading, or I'm cooking, or I'm like comatose watching a movie or a TV show. And what I'm looking for is that in between of like, how can I unwind and do something that's not work, but still makes me feel successful? Okay, as a projector, when you're in alignment, they call that feeling successful. When you're out of alignment, you're feeling annoyed, basically. And so I have my iPad, so I was like, oh, I could do some drawing apps on the iPad. I could color. I don't know. I'm not quite sure yet, guys. I don't know what to do to relax that's more in between just like doing nothing and working. So that's part of what I'm realizing this week is like, oh, I am here to discover what I love in my life that isn't my work. Because so much of my life now is focused on my work. I'm like, anytime I learn something new, anytime I get coaching, even like spiritual readings, I'm like, but tell me about my business. What do I need to know about my business? How can I apply this to my business? How can I use this in my business? But can I tell you guys a little secret? Your business is a reflection of your life. I just realized this morning, I was like, oh my God, maybe this experiment is about me getting back into my life so that it can infuse my business. But it's not about my business right now. It's about my life. And as a projector too, like I get to be on my island. But if my island is only about my business, like what are the other things that light me up? And how can I share those with you all? Like how can I experience that? And so I started having all of these insights and getting really excited of like, this is all part of it. This is all part of it. And relaxing, learning how to relax in a new way, experiencing the different aspects of my life that light me up, like organizing and cleaning surprisingly lights me up when it's inspired. Like the garage, like setting up our little in-home gym. There's all these fun little projects that I want to do that help me feel really successful around the house, but I'll tend to put them off, right? Because I should be working. So this is kind of this whole outline of this all really, today is Monday, the 23rd of November, and it all just like a lot of this clicked into place today, which is what I'm loving about this experiment is there's a whole lot of questioning, a whole lot of like wayward feeling every day and every week. I look back at the week, I'm like, I don't know, it's just a whole bunch of ups and downs. But then when I sit down to process, I'm starting to realize that even though it feels really discombobulated and feels unorganized and confusing and like I don't have a lot of trust in what I'm doing, it's also unfolding really perfectly. And it is exactly what I'm needing right now. And that's why I'm going on the experiment. That's why I'm riding this wave. And every time I come back to the microphone to talk to you guys about it or to my journal, I'm realizing more and more about what this all means and what it's going to look like. And I'm getting more comfortable in not knowing how everything is going to unfold, in not knowing even right now, like how I'm going to invite new clients next year. I have many, by the way, different ideas. Like things are really flowing to me in terms of like ideas and insights. And I have all these different like program ideas and one-to-one coaching experiences that I'm just so excited about. But I'm waiting for kind of that right connection to come together so that it is super aligned, not just for me, but for those who I attract, right? For those who are attracted to my energy and want this type of experience, I want to have the most aligned offer so that it feels so good and so magical when we work together. So that's this week. That is week 2 of the Sloth Experiment. Thank you so much for listening. This is a short one this week, but to me, there was a lot of insights that came through and I'm like, whoa. As always, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will catch you next week for another update on the Sloth Experiment on the Tuning In podcast. Thank you for joining me on another episode of the Tuning In podcast. As always, if this would resonate with anyone you know, please share the episode. You can follow along with my journey on Instagram at Dana_Evans, or find me on my website at alignful.com.